What steps would you embark upon discovering a secret so dark and forbidden that it urged you to reconsider every conviction you held regarding your family? At 2 a.m. I found myself in the hallway, my heart pounding so fiercely it felt as though it might choke me, drawn to the soft glow of a laptop screen spilling through the slender crack of my stepson's bedroom door. The house was enveloped in silence, my husband lost in dreams, down the hallway, oblivious to the storm that threatened to upend our existence. I should have retreated, distanced myself, and pretended not to know it was there. Yet I held back, and that singular decision, that momentary weakness in determination, unraveled everything. It was a night unlike any other, one that commenced with the softest of sounds, a delicate flicker of movement that would set the entire world in motion. As I rose quietly to retrieve a glass of water, my bare feet glided gently over the polished hardwood floors. The house rested in silence, a tranquility that cloaked the world in the depths of night where secrets seek solace. Yet within this calm, a faint rhythmic sound emanated from Matthew's room, drawing my focus. At 25, my stepson has been living with us while he saves for his own place, a good kid, or so I thought. I comforted myself with the belief that my motives were noble. Maybe he was in distress, maybe he needed help. However, as I peered through the slightly open door, the scene that unfolded before me left me completely frozen. The soft glow of the laptop screen illuminated his face, highlighting an intense focus as his fingers moved deftly over the keys, leading to the video, the moment that shattered me completely. It transcended the realm of mere video. It became a mirror, capturing the essence of us, of my husband and me. Moments meant to be cherished in the privacy of a marriage, recordings I had no knowledge of, sent a wave of unease through me, causing the glass of water in my hand to tremble. For what duration had he been watching these, and by what means had he come to possess them? And what could possibly be more concerning than that, you inquire? I should have shouted, I should have awakened my husband, I should have stormed in and demanded answers, yet I held back. Instead, I found myself anchored in place, held captive by an elusive power, a feeling that wavered between terror and a haunting, shameful curiosity. In that ephemeral instant, I caught a glimpse of something profoundly different in Matthew's eyes, something that surpassed mere distorted intrigue. A yearning enveloped me, directed unmistakably at the secretive shift unfolding before my eyes. The days that followed unfolded in a haze of anguish, and I kept my distance from Matthew. Conversations with my husband were sparse, each one punctuated by the delicate flutter of my eyelids. The flickering screen played over in my thoughts, Matthew's piercing gaze etched into the essence of those images of myself. I persuaded myself that I experienced disgust, yet why could I not stop my mind from dwelling on it? What stirred that tingling sensation on my skin as he passed by me in the hallway? What made my breath catch when he smiled at me across the breakfast table, as if nothing had happened, and why? Oh, why did a piece of my essence experience a twinge of flattery? The seductive pull that looms over our fragile reality. I recognized its inherent wrongness. I understood that it would shatter the bonds of my marriage. It became evident that Matthew was navigating treacherous territory, a realm that went beyond mere curiosity. Yet, the most disheartening realization was the burgeoning desire within me to partake in the unfolding drama. An existence I thought I knew all too well. Before that evening, I would have described myself as a devoted wife, a woman of steadfastness, a person who practiced sound judgment. Paisley is the name I bear. Ah, Paisley, now a married woman for 7 years, sharing her life with Anthony. At 38, I stood on the precipice of a new chapter, freshly divorced and treading carefully into the landscape of love. Anthony lingered at a distance from the others, a steady and empathetic financial advisor, whose calming presence brought me a profound sense of security. He had a son from his first marriage, Matthew, who was 21 when I entered their lives. During that time, Matthew was just a quiet teenager, more engrossed in video games than in conversation. I offered him my courtesy, but still, a chasm of distance lingered between us. He called me Paisley, never Mom, and that was just how I liked it. My aim was never to look for a substitute for anyone. For years, everything was unremarkable. Then Matthew graduated and departed for college, And I believe that was the conclusion of our story, until his return, marked by a disquieting transformation. 6 months ago, at the age of 25, Matthew made his way back to his hometown. After losing his job in the city, Anthony felt a surge of joy. He is carefully saving money, a bright young mind. I comforted myself with the thought that this was merely a transient phase, yet Matthew had become a stranger in my eyes. He stood taller now, broader, radiating a quiet confidence that filled the air around him. He embarked on his fitness journey within the intimate setting of our home gym. Through the doorway, I would catch ephemeral glimpses of him. Glistening droplets of perspiration adorned his shoulders. I would turn my eyes away, annoyed with myself for having noticed, and then the small details would come rushing in. He would linger in our dialogues. How he would smirk when I chastised him for neglecting the dishes in the sink. That instant when he unwittingly walked in as I was in the process of changing. His apology arrived just a moment too late. I ascribed it to pure arrogance, both exasperating and seemingly harmless. In the days that followed the revelation, leading up to the videos, I meticulously avoided any moments spent alone with Matthew for an entire week. I made certain that Anthony was always close at hand. I found myself considering the possibility of sharing it with him. What words might I select, I wonder? Your son was watching recordings of us. The experience was profoundly embarrassing, remarkably peculiar. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Anthony embarked on his journey for a business trip. You two behave, he joked at the door, planting a kiss on my cheek. As his car disappeared from view, a profound stillness descended upon the house. I busied myself in the kitchen, meticulously polishing counters that gleamed with cleanliness. Matthew's voice emerged from behind me, low and measured, resonating with a deliberate cadence. I turned my fingers, grasping the edge of the sink. He lingered in the doorway, arms crossed, regarding me with an enigmatic gaze. We need to talk, he said. A conversation that traversed the limits of propriety. I braced myself for rejection, reticence. Instead, Matthew displayed a disquieting serenity. I know you saw, he said, stepping closer. My heart quickened. What did you observe? He sported a cunning smile. Let us embark on this journey. I should have departed. He was referred to as Anthony something. Nevertheless, I held back. What is the length of time? I whispered softly. Ample in length. His eyes ensnared my attention. Your beauty captivates even more when experienced in person. The words twisted within me, sparking a blaze of embarrassment. This is utterly unacceptable. I lost my grip on composure. Is it possible? He took another step forward. On that night, your gaze held steady, and you took in every detail. My face blazed with an intense heat, for he was undeniably right. The treacherous game begins. In the ensuing days, Matthew elevated the stakes. He would sweep past me in the corridor. His touch lingered, stretching the moment into an eternity that felt just a heartbeat too long. He would leave his bedroom door ever so slightly open. The gentle glow of his laptop enveloped him in a warm embrace of light. A moment lingered, a brief yet profound instance when I caught him watching me from across the dinner table, his foot grazing against mine in the shadows below. I was never able to withdraw swiftly enough, and the most regrettable element, I started to confront him in kind, slipping into lighter sleepwear, my robe left untied, giving him the chance to catch my gaze lingering on him. In the stillness, the dance revealed itself. We stood ready, each daring the other, anticipating the next audacious move. I persuaded myself that I was in control. Yet Matthew persistently stayed 2 steps ahead on that fateful night. Then the storm descended. The abrupt loss of electricity shrouded the home in an unyielding blackness. Anthony was nowhere to be found. The echo of Matthew's voice reached me, well before his silhouette emerged from the shadows. His voice hung in the air just behind me, shrouded in the consuming darkness that brimmed with unease. His breath brushed against my neck, a warm whisper that lingered in the air. And then the shadows consumed all that existed. The storm raged outside, battering the windows as though an angry spirit yearned for entry. The shadows had consumed the room for nearly an hour at this point. The occasional flash of lightning casts fleeting shadows, etching stark outlines against the landscape. Matthew's presence hovered just behind me in the dimly lit kitchen, an unsettling proximity that sent a chill racing down my spine. His warmth surrounded me, a soft heat resting against my back. Overcome by a sense of dread, he murmured again. His voice came out as a whisper, almost lost amidst the unyielding patter of rain. I inhaled deeply, my fingers tightening around the edge of the counter. Absolutely not, it is simply a storm. His gentle, muted laughter triggered an unwelcome tremor coursing down my spine. Trickster. Then his hand settled gently on my waist. With a careful and deliberate approach, this was my aspiration. My breath hitched as his thumbs glided in soft circles, just above my hips. Matthew, I delivered my warning, albeit with a quiver in my voice. He leaned in, his lips brushing against the soft contour of my ear. I implore you to encourage me to stop. In an instant, lightning illuminated the sky, casting a transient light across his features. His deep-set eyes locked onto mine, brimming with a desire and comprehension that was unmistakable. I opened my mouth. Stillness wrapped around the instant, the boundary beyond which retreat is impossible. His fingers wrapped around me, pulling me deeper into his embrace. His heartbeat pulsed gently against my shoulder. Quick and resolute, observe, he whispered. Your longing for my continuation is palpable, yet my body betrays me. Yielding to his touch, my skin aflame under the journey of his hands. The result was far from what was originally envisioned. I had never imagined myself becoming this kind of woman. In that fleeting moment, I ceased to be Paisley, the revered wife and stepmother. I was simply a woman who had stayed too long in the darkness, overlooking the passionate warmth that bubbled just beneath my surface. At that moment, Matthew had not yet assumed the role of my stepson. He was simply a man who had long yearned for me. At long last, I found myself yielding to him. As autumn wrapped its arms around us, the moments that followed emerged in a blur of intertwined forms and ephemeral breaths. The relentless surface of the kitchen counter dug into my back as he lifted me onto it. Our lips met with a fierce urgency, a collision of passion. As I sampled whiskey in the company of something more enigmatic, a sense of remorse should have washed over me. Shame ought to have enveloped me. Yet all I felt was the rhythm of being. After years of being weighed down, my mind finally felt unshackled from the incessant grocery lists, looming mortgage payments, and the nagging anxiety of Antony's late arrivals. My thoughts were an empty canvas. I was swept away by a torrent of feelings. The experience was both chilling and exhilarating, filled with inaccuracies, yet I persevered through it all. The aftermath that ensued. In the wake of it all, a heavy silence surrounded us. David was the first to draw back his breath, each inhalation coming in uneven gasps. His eyes turned away from mine. I stepped down from the counter, my legs unsteady, my clothes in a state of dishevelment. The light flared to life, its sudden brightness piercing and critical. I looked at him, really looked at him for the first time since everything had happened. His expression lingered as an enigma cloaked in uncertainty. In that quiet instant, he turned on his heel and walked out of the kitchen, leaving me behind. My lips glow with a vibrant hue, my heart quickens its pace, and my thoughts resonate with one relentless inquiry. What have I created? Illusions reveal themselves. Antony arrived home the next day, utterly oblivious. He pressed his lips against my cheek and murmured, "I missed you." I summoned a smile likewise. Matthew proceeded as though the occurrences had never taken place. He exchanged playful remarks with his father, helped carry in the groceries, and even asked in Antony's presence if I would care for some coffee. As if he hadn't caressed my soul so deeply just yesterday, as though he hadn't fractured my essence, I avoided any moments shared in his presence. I reassured myself that it was simply a mistake, a fleeting instance of misjudgment. 3 nights later, I was roused from my sleep by a soft knock at my bedroom door. Next to me, Antony produced a harmonious chorus of snores. The knock reverberated again. As soon as I laid eyes on the figure, a surge of clarity washed over me, and with a touch of divine grace, I found the strength to awaken from my dreams. A guest arrives at the stroke of midnight. The soft tapping was so subtle that I almost convinced myself it was just a product of my imagination. But it came back again. 3 deliberate taps, the rhythm unmistakable. Anthony rested serenely next to me, enveloped in the embrace of deep sleep. His breath came in deep, measured waves. The digital clock resting on the nightstand cast a gentle light, illuminating the time. 2:18 a.m. in bold crimson figures. I should have stayed in bed. I undoubtedly should have resisted the temptation to open that door. As I laid eyes on Matthew, dressed solely in low-slung sweatpants, his bare chest illuminated by the gentle glow of the hallway light, every protest I held melted away into quietude. "We must engage in dialogue," he whispered, my fingers wrapped tightly around the doorknob. "Missing from this location. This time, no." His gaze flickered towards Anthony's sleeping form before shifting back to me. A knowing smile lingered on his lips. "So where shall we go next?" The treacherous agreement. We gathered in the basement just 10 minutes later. There I stood, wrapped in a robe I had claimed like a fragile shield, while Matthew leaned nonchalantly against the washing machine, radiating that infuriating confidence once more. "This cannot occur once more," I whispered, my voice barely rising above a breath. Despite the 2 floors that lay between me and Anthony, David tilted his head slightly. "What holds us back? It is undeniably unjust." Still, it echoed with an undeniable sense of rightness. With 2 swift strides, he launched himself away from the machine, closing the distance that lay between us. "Admit it. You too find it impossible to dislodge from your thoughts." My treacherous body trembled as he traced a finger along my arm. "I am married to your father," I managed to utter, my voice scarcely breaking free from my throat. "And yet, here you stand," his hand encircling my waist, pulling me nearer to him. In the quiet stillness of the early morning, at precisely 2:30, the deceptions revealed their sharp fangs. The subsequent month slipped away in a haze of ephemeral moments and persistent unease. Quick, furtive touches were shared in the pantry as Anthony reveled in the warmth of his shower, while Matthew's fingers danced along my thigh beneath the dinner table. The atmosphere was thick with tension, a palpable energy that hung in the air like a charged whisper. Anthony's sudden early arrival burst the delicate bubble of secrecy, exposing us in a vulnerable closeness within the garage's confines. With each meeting, my desire intensified, leaving me more and more disgusted by my own behavior. On that fateful morning, the realization dawned upon me. Time slipped away from me. 2 weeks past the expected moment, the weight of anticipation for motherhood heavy in the air. I stared into the bathroom mirror, my reflection hauntingly wide-eyed. The pregnancy test from the drugstore rested motionless on the counter, its plastic wrapper crinkling softly in my unsteady grasp. It was simply impossible. We had primarily exercised caution. A sharp knock at the door jolted me from my thoughts. "Paisley." Anthony placed a call. "Is everything okay in there?" "Indeed, quite well." I emitted a soft squeak, hastily concealing the test within the folds of my robe's pocket. "Simply digestive issues." As soon as he left for work, I took advantage of the moment to take the test. Those 3 minutes elongated into an endless span, each second pulling forward like a burdensome anchor. When the second pink line appeared, my knees gave way, collapsing under the weight of the moment. The ultimate request. That afternoon, I confronted Matthew in the empty house. "We have a problem," I whispered, pressing the positive test into his hands. His eyebrows lifted in astonishment. Then, much to my dismay, he smiled. "This is impeccable, impeccable." Silenced and bound, Anthony would depart, Matthew determined, his gaze alight with fervor. "Finally, we can step into the light." I recoiled as though he had struck me. "Do you truly think I would forsake my husband for you?" His expression darkened. "You have indeed achieved that already. Every moment I get to touch your skin is a cherished gift." The gravity of his words hits me like a physical blow. "There are 3 days remaining for you to convey your message to him." Matthew spoke with a steady voice as he slipped the test into his pocket. "Or I will." An encounter stripped of triumph. That evening I watched Anthony relish his meal, blissfully ignorant of the impending explosion that would upend his life. Should I choose to disclose this to him, he would surely turn his back on me. The child would grow up without the presence of a father figure. Our families would endure profound devastation. Should I hesitate, Matthew would expose our hidden truth. Anthony was bound to uncover the truth. The consequences would be significantly more grave. A plan conceived in haste. 3 in the morning, I have arrived at my conclusion. With a suitcase in hand, I crafted a note, set my wedding ring gently on the kitchen counter, and ventured out into the world beyond the door. The tires of my car crunched over gravel as I embarked upon the lonely stretch of highway. The shimmering light of street lamps dances, creating silhouettes that play upon my windshield. My hands trembled against the steering wheel. The back seat embraced my suitcase, packed in with an air of delightful chaos. Adrift and aimless, I sought only to break free from the confines of my surroundings. Separation from Matthew, leaving from Anthony, distance from the essence of being. I was broken into pieces. The relentless vibration of my phone resonated for the 10th time. I decided to turn a blind eye to it. In an instant, Anthony's name lit up the screen. My stomach twisted in knots. It seems he has stumbled upon the note. I let it fade into the realm of voicemail. The meticulous examination of the motel room. As the first light of dawn began to illuminate the horizon, I pulled into a roadside motel, a place characterized by its fragile walls and an ever-present aroma of dampness. Once the door clicked into place, I collapsed onto the coarse comforter. My body shook with uncontrollable sobs. With every powerful surge, I felt sharp pangs piercing through my ribs. I displayed a lack of courage. Outsmart a creature, and now I find myself carrying a child that may not belong to my husband. Once again, my phone vibrated with an unyielding buzz. This moment it is text. Anthony Paisley. I would appreciate it if you could give me a call. Text regardless of the nature of this situation. We possess the capability to find a resolution. A wave of regret washed over me. He thought this was about our relationship. He lingered in a state of blissful ignorance, oblivious to the treachery that lay hidden beneath the surface. I turned off my phone. A sharp knock echoed through the silence of the room. It appears I had succumbed to slumber in the blink of an eye. The abrupt noise of someone pounding on the motel room door shattered the stillness. Paisley, show yourself. The resonance of Matthew's voice. My heart raced wildly as I shot up. How had he come to know where I was? The unyielding rhythm grew stronger. Your presence is not lost on me. With a sense of trepidation, I made my way to the door. My eyes were drawn to the warped view beyond the fisheye lens. Matthew remained where he was, disheveled and untidy. His eyes were wild and restless. And in his aftermath, Anthony. My blood turned to ice in my veins. I flung the door wide, narrowly averting their awakening. Matthew burst through the door, leading the charge into the entire motel. His face blazed with rage. What in the world crossed your mind? Merely turning away. Anthony followed in the shadows. His expression was a mixture of confusion and the slow creeping of fear. Paisley, David spoke of the two of you. He spoke. His voice wavered. The chamber spun in a dizzying dance around me. It was Matthew who delivered the message to him. I opened my mouth, but silence wrapped around me like a shroud. What words might I summon? Matthew stood before his father. His voice carried an eerie tranquility. She is anticipating the arrival of a father. This is mine. Anthony wavered precariously. His gaze shattered me into pieces. What is the duration? He murmured, Matthew. It has been a considerable amount of time. Anthony produced a sound that was completely alien to my ears, with a sound that blended a sob and a growl. He pivoted sharply and burst through the door. With a decisive thud, it closed behind him, echoing a sense of irrevocable conclusion. The aftermath that ensued. Silence. Then Matthew erupted into a robust laugh. The sound resonated with a chilling emptiness, reverberating through the stillness. Indeed, that developed in a remarkably favorable manner. My eyes were fixed upon him. In that instant, I genuinely saw him for the first time. The angle of his lips, imbued with self-satisfaction. The shimmer of strategy flickered in his gaze. This was not affection. This was a test of mastery. And I found myself vanquished. A sudden revelation unfolds. This is what you longed for. I released a breath. Matthew gave a casual shrug. I longed for you. The aftermath was simply an unfortunate consequence. The pieces converged with a delicate precision. The visual material, the enchantment, the pregnancy test he had clung to. You orchestrated my demise. He shifted his voice, descending into a whisper. Certainly not, Paisley. Your eyes were wide open as you stepped into this moment. The most lamentable facet, he was without a doubt correct. Choice. I grasped my purse with a firm grip. Matthew's hand shot out, capturing my wrist in a strong hold. To what destination do you think you are journeying? Free from constraints. Removed from your vicinity, for the sake of improvement. His smirk disappeared. Independence might slip through your fingers. My gaze locked onto his eyes, filled with an unyielding intensity. Watch me closely. Upon my exit, I departed from the motel. The betrayal lingers, with Matthew trailing behind me. The first light of day embraced in isolation. The sun rose over a quaint diner at the outskirts of town. The fluorescent lights buzzed with a restless energy, casting an irritable glow. In a weathered vinyl booth I sat, my fingers wrapped around a coffee cup that had long abandoned its heat. The server, a woman with tired eyes, her name tag reading Lily, had refilled it 3 times without uttering a single question. Are you feeling okay, my dear? Finally, she asked, her fingers gliding over the texture of her apron. I opened my mouth to spin a tale untrue, yet I found myself engulfed by an overwhelming surge of tears. My eyes lingered on the delicate dance of our fingers, entwined in a tender embrace. Her hands, robust and worn by time, contrasted with mine, which still held the delicate trace of the wedding ring that had once graced my finger. I admitted to a fog of doubt, obscuring my understanding of who I am. Lily's fingers curled more firmly around the object. Today heralds the onset of unraveling, a perplexing enigma, a chilling trial within the domain of justice. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers for Anthony came through the door. No phone call came. Negotiation is off the table. A lone manila envelope sat patiently at the entrance of my new apartment. A tiny studio nestled above a laundromat, eternally steeped in the aroma of detergent and an enduring air of regret. I expected anger woven through the pages, hopes, bitterness. In its stead, I encountered a profound silence. Anthony had not even challenged the house, the cars, or the savings. He simply ambled off. That anguish pierced more profoundly than any dispute ever might. A visitor uninvited. It was in the 7th month of my pregnancy that Matthew found his way back into my life. I had obtained a role at a charming little bookstore. The expansion of my belly presents a challenge in reaching the higher shelves, yet it also offers a curious sense of comfort. The tiny being often found itself upright within the confines of the womb, a relentless reverberation of my errors. As the rain fell steadily on that Tuesday, the gentle chime of the bell above the door echoed softly through the air. He stood there, water streaming off him and pooling onto the welcome mat. You look good pregnant, he said, as if time had stood still. My hands instinctively rose to protect my stomach. Depart immediately. Matthew paid me no attention, wandering through the aisles, trailing a line of damp footprints behind him. My mind had been occupied with thoughts of the baby. There is no baby in your realm of concern, I hissed, my voice barely above a whisper to keep my boss blissfully unaware. He approached, his breath a gentle warmth brushing against my ear. I wished to navigate the legal framework to pursue a DNA test, the eerie narrative of the hospital. As the hours of labor commenced, a profound solitude wrapped around me. Lamar's classes will not be held. No bag is packed. Lack of an eager companion. Measuring the intervals of the contractions. Isolated. I drew in sharp breaths, grappling with the pain as the taxi raced ahead, praying the driver stayed unaware of the amniotic fluid trickling into his back seat. Then arrived the torment. Brilliant light. Whispers of encouragement beckoning forward. Then my cherished daughter Moore. Impeccable. Through Matthew's eyes, the final choice. David made his way to the hospital, a lawyer by his side. He demanded the transfer of partial custody, or I shall seek legal recourse for full custody. The nurse stood hesitantly by the door, gently holding my sleeping baby. I turned my attention from my daughter's face to the self-satisfied look that graced Matthew's features. In this way, I reached my conclusion: a plan for emancipation. 3 days later, I disappeared without a trace. A new title awaits. New horizons await. No forwarding address is provided. The elderly woman who owned the bookstore, a gentle soul and my only companion, extended her help. A sister in Oregon, she murmured, pressing cash into my palm. She will guarantee that you are meticulously organized. As the bus pulled away, I held my daughter close, softly whispering tender promises into her delicate, peach fuzz hair. The truth stands unchallenged. Halt the journey, just the two of us. An unsent letter. Dear Anthony, I sincerely apologize. Our daughter carries your smile within her. Her father will forever be a stranger to her, solely due to my choices. Some transgressions remain beyond the reach of forgiveness. Nevertheless, I am striving to make a concerted effort. Goodbye. And so it comes to an end. What steps might you have pursued had you found yourself in Paisley's predicament? Would you have faced the repercussions? Or might you have opted to escape instead? We welcome you to share your thoughts in the comments section. And if this tale has left you breathless, prepare yourself for next week's story of a wife who unearthed her husband's concealed family.